Alright guys, welcome back to Armored Warfare with Sir Derpsalot. Today we're going to be taking a look at the best Tier 8 main battle tank in the game, the M1A1 Abrams. I'm going to explain to you why it's the best. Go over some of the upgrades, go over some of the playstyle, the armor layout, show you some of the weak points, some of the downfalls of this thing, and then show you how it stacks up against others in some gameplay. So for a start, let's go ahead and take a look at the upgrade path. Here we've got defense upgrades. Stock armor, it's pretty similar to the Tier 7, but just thicker. To go up to the heavy combat armor, you'll notice that the actual armor values stay the same, but the modifiers increase. So that gives you much better effective armor, going up from 1.55 modifiers to 2.05, even against AP rounds. So that's one of the reasons why the armor on this thing is so amazing. And then when you go up to the Tusk ERA and cage, pretty much just adds some heavy ERA to the sides and a cage over the engine exhaust. So it's not actually that big of an upgrade. The heavy common is the one that you want to get first. That's the one that makes this thing what it is. And then an armor retrofit slot, which, whatever, doesn't really matter. The gun on this thing is actually pretty lackluster. It's the lowest pen of a Tier 8 MBT at 525. Damage 541, which is also not spectacular at Tier 8. It gets a firepower retrofit. You'll notice that there is no HE on here at all. Allegedly, this heat MP round is supposed to function like it actually does in real life, and it's supposed to be a dual-purpose round, so act as a heat round or a high-explosive round if it doesn't penetrate. Doesn't work in the game right now, and so far, from what I've been seeing, the developers are kind of backpedaling on their initial statements, saying that no, it's not actually supposed to work like that, and we're not going to give the Abrams a HE round. Whatever, doesn't matter. HE is for idiots, and you don't need it anyway. Moving on, this thing is actually really mobile. This engine upgrade right here, you want it. It's not that important though, and the thing's actually pretty mobile without it. The big one is the hard surface tracks right here. When you upgrade these, it reduces all your ground resistance values. So this is what actually makes the thing accelerate better and traverse a little bit better. This one you'll notice a bigger mobility increase over just the engine when you're upgrading this thing. Then standard technology upgrades, you got smokes, APS, and 2 universal slots. So between the firepower and the 2 universal slots, that's what makes this thing amazing, and I'll get more into that later. Fun side note, this has APS. The Tier 7 does not, obviously. And the Tier 9 does not, because reason. So, enjoy APS on the Tier 8, because you don't have it on Tier 9. But, whatever. Alright, so, you'll see the retrofit slots here. It's got 1 armor retrofit, a firepower retrofit, and 2 universals. Now, what are we actually going to do with those? Well, we'll show you. You'll see here, in the universal slots, I have intercom system Mark III. The reason for that is that it not only reduces your reload, it increases all your other crew attributes. So, for example, your driver, this will make your acceleration better, it'll make your whole traverse better, that kind of thing. On your gunner, it will reduce your amount of bloom when you're traversing the tank. It'll decrease your aim time. It'll increase your overall accuracy. And then on the loader, obviously, it reduces reload time. So most people stack this on there just for the reload time, but there are a lot more benefits to just reload from putting this on here. Then you'll see on here I have enhanced shell materials, Mark III. What this does is it decreases your reload time further, and it also increases your moving accuracy. Now this doesn't mean that you're not going to bloom as much. What it means is that you're going to bloom slower when you move. So your maximum bloom remains unaffected with this on there. But when you're moving back and forth, or traversing the tracks or whatever, your bloom, the reticle will get bigger at a slower rate than it would without this. You kind of get what I'm saying there. The bloom remains unchanged, the maximum bloom remains unchanged. It's just the speed that it gets to maximum bloom is reduced by 22.5%. And then the thermal sleeve, advanced thermal sleeve, obviously just straight reload reduction. And then with the armor slot, you can put whatever you want in there. I put the internal hull reinforcement just to get straight straight HP boost. You can put the other one I would recommend is the ammo rack, the reinforced ammo rack one, because the ammo rack on this thing is right in the back of the turret. It's in the turret bustle, so this area right here at the very back. So if you shoot off to the side, things directly in front of you can hit that. And it doesn't happen often, but I've flat out ammo racked other Abrams by shooting into there. So it's an option. If you're worried about it, then go ahead and put that on there. I just went for the straight HP boost. It really doesn't make a big difference either way. But that being said, let's see what these retrofits do to our overall stats. So obviously the damage and penetration stay exactly the same because we have no retrofits that change either of those values. But if you look at our damage per minute here, 62.54. That's actually ridiculous. And if we look down here, we'll find out why. Our reload time is 5.19 seconds. The reason our reload time is 5.19 seconds is because of this intercom, the modular retrofits we have down here, and our commander. We got Juan Carlos in here. And his skill right here, fire when ready, reload time reduced by 6%. With the recent commander crew skill nerfs, which by the way did nothing but screw tanks, they didn't actually fix any of the stacking problems. But with the crew bonus skill nerfs on the commanders, Juan Carlos is now the best commander to have on MBTs. Because he gives a straight reload time reduction. You'll see it used to be Victor because of his leadership skill. It used to be crew attributes increased by an additional 10%. Now it's down to 4%. And you'll see once we put Victor on here, it goes down to 5.36 seconds. Obviously, we're not talking about big, huge differences here. But, personally, I prefer the quickest reload on this thing. So, Juan Carlos is what I go through. Now, you may think Freya is the way to go. She gets the same bonus. Or she can get the same bonus. I actually have her spec'd for full auto, rate of fire increased by 10%. Does almost nothing for MBTs, single shot gun. But it actually increases the rate of fire on AFVs, especially like Terminators, Ramkas, that type of thing. It increases their rate of fire by quite a bit. So I have her spec'd for those, and I use Juan Carlos here. Juan Carlos also gives the extra module damage right here, anti-material explosives. So, and quick swap, he also swaps ammo types faster. So, Juan Carlos is my go-to for MBTs, for all of them now. So, take a look at some of the other stats here. You got 7.5 gun depression. Not spectacular, not terrible. Charge reverse 40 degrees per second, because we can't possibly have light tanks and AFVs able to circle MBT. That would be too balanced. Camouflage is terrible. Vision range is terrible. Max speed is a lie. Like, it's not even just like a little bit off, or there's things you can do to modify it. It's a flat out lie. This thing on level ground will do 80 easily. I don't know why that number is there. It is meaning. So, if we take a look at some of the other Tier 8 MBTs, we'll take a look at some of the closest competition here for the M1A1. Here's a 2A5. See, it's got higher pen, but slightly lower alpha. The rate of fire, it's awful. I don't know why the Leopard 2A5 has such a slow rate of fire, and it only gets one universal slot, a universal and a mobility. Like, this is something that needs to be fixed. The Leopard 2s from tier 7 through 9 are going to be worthless until they get competitive retrofit slots. I don't know why. I think they kind of understood this when they buffed the 2A6 in the last patch. But what it needed was retrofit slots, so they buffed its gun handling. I don't understand it, whatever. Kind of the same thing they did with the LAV 600. It needed gun depression and penetration, so they buffed its gun handling and rate of fire. Whatever. People are completely out of touch with what needs to happen. Look at the C1. Obviously, some of the best pen at tier 8, but it's got even lower alpha. Same rate of fire, but it gets 2 retrofit slots, so it can actually increase its rate of fire in some meaningful way. The C1 is actually the closest competition for this thing at tier 8. And then you've got the T90, used to be the king of tier 8. No longer is, because it's down to, obviously it's got the best alpha and the best penetration at tier 8, so it doesn't have the best rate of fire at tier 8. See, these are how you balance vehicles. Unlike a tier 9, where the T90MS has the best penetration and the best alpha. So what they did to balance that out was also give it the best rate of fire. Whatever. Now, hit point pools are kind of all over the place, but there's so much alpha flying around at tier 8 that it actually doesn't make a big difference between, say, the M1A1 and the 2A6, despite the M1A1 having like 500 more hit points. It doesn't matter because whatever hits you is going to hit for that much anyway. So, it doesn't make an enormous difference. Let's take a quick look at the armor layout here. Obviously, so you see the values in here. We got 320 hull on the front and 410 on the front of the turret. But if we look at the actual values here, where it takes into account the modifier, you're actually looking at 656 millimeters at the front of the hull, right here, which would be enough for a T90MS to go through, except it's never going to see it flat. It's going to see it at an angle like this. So unless you're really like just riding the short bus hard and you come up over a hill in front of an MS, they're not going to pen that. The turret front, it's 840 millimeters. Nothing's going to. Turret sides, this is kind of misleading. 656 millimeters. That's only back until about right here. Like up here at the front of the turret side. It's true. 656 millimeters, nothing's going through, you're good. But back here, this is all pretty much auto pen for everything with over 400 pen. Like even Challenger ones will go through back here at some pretty ridiculous angles. So just be aware when you're aiming side to side that you are exposing weak spots on the back of your turret right here when you do that. So you really need to be able to you just need to be aware of what's looking at you. So like if something's looking at you straight ahead and you turn your turret off to the side, when they see this, some guns can go through that. And then you turn it off even more to the side, everything can go through that. So just be aware of that. A lot of people get caught out by that. It's actually much weaker than the Leopard 2 turrets. So just be aware of that. And your ammo rack is also back here, so that goes back to the... if you want to use the ammo rack retrofit, go right ahead. That's what it's good for, because your ammo rack's back here, and you are going to take damage through here sometimes. If you look on the back of this thing, you've got the cage. It does absolutely nothing against AP, but if someone's foolish enough to fire heat at the back of you, then you can laugh at them as they fizzle against the cage armor. ERA blocks on the side. They look cool. Pretty much worthless, mostly because anybody firing heat at your sides, it's probably not going to go through with or without the cage anyway, or without the ERA. So, the AP armor is actually really good. That's the depleted uranium composite upgrade. Just remember, you are not going to have this armor until you get this heavy common upgrade. This is what changes it to the depleted uranium composite. So when you first get the tank, you're just going to have regular composite. Your armor layout is not going to be as good. If we look right here, we switch it back. We switch it back to the stock armor. You're looking at everything, almost everything being able to go through your lower plate right here. Remember the problems you had with the Tier 7 Abrams with T80s blasting through your lower front plate all the time? It's the same deal on this thing until you get that armor upgrade. Look at this, 496 millimeters. That's, the T80 has 501, I think, AP pen. So until you get that upgrade, you're going to get blasted through right here. I would honestly recommend that upgrade, that armor, the heavy common upgrade, being your first armor upgrade when you get this, or the first upgrade of any kind when you get this tank. Save your friggin' XP and get the armor upgrade, because it makes or breaks the defense of this tank. Like I said, the ERA and cage upgrade is pretty much irrelevant. It's neither here nor there. You don't really need it. So, let's take a look at the shape charge. Obviously, this is depleted uranium composite armor. It's meant to defeat shape charges. And that's nonsense. There we go. 960 frontal millimeters, or millimeters of frontal armor. Some high-tier ATGMs can go through, but they're probably not, because they're going to hit it at an angle. And when you're looking at, an angle like this, increasing an armor value by 10%, well, increasing an armor value by 10% here puts it up to almost 1100 millimeters of effective armor. So not much is going to go through. I had Leopard 2s a couple matches ago for no apparent reason, firing ATGMs at my turret face. Don't know why. It was kind of funny. I murdered 2 of them while they were trying to pen me with missiles. 1230 millimeters at the front of the turret at a flat angle, and you're not going to hit it at a flat angle. So, GG. Turret sides, same deal. 960 millimeters of armor against shape charges. But once again, remember the weak points back here. Somebody's firing, even heat will go through these weak points back here. So if someone's firing heat bouncing off your front, don't show them the sides. They're going to put a giant hit right through the sides of the turret. And then the hull, it's actually kind of weak, except it's covered with ERA. So it doesn't really matter. And then back here, obviously the modifiers don't take the cage into account, but this cage will defeat pretty much everything except really high tier tandem warheads like Ramkas, Terminators, ATGMs from T90s and stuff like that. Everything else, just normal heat rounds from anything, it'll defeat. So with that, let's take a look at some gameplay. Alright, here we go. Got a Lost Island PvP here. I'm in a platoon, but it's our 3 tier 8s against 3 tier 8s on their team. One of them's an arty, but 2 of them are 2A5s, so in theory it should be at least kind of competitive. But at the same time, this is the state of high tier PvP on the North American server. It's just not enough people. They need to merge EU and NA again. But it's me and my platoon mates. We're rushing to this northern choke point up here. We know we can bully through, so we're just going to go ahead and do that. You can see the speed this thing does over rough terrain, through forests, all that nonsense. It's kind of ridiculous. But we're just going to come right up here, and this thing has enough pen to go straight through the turret face of a T80. I don't know why the T80's turret is so deep, but whatever. And there we have, like, you know, spend all that XP to unlock the ERA on the side of this thing, and then Paladin shoots at you, and all the ERA is gone immediately. GG. And we're just gonna bounce a couple random shots off this T80, but it really doesn't matter. If you notice the little audio message down there, apparently ramming him lit him on fire, which is funny. This is also gonna light him on fire. Yep, that's nice. I shot him in the front, didn't do any damage, but lit him on fire, killed him anyway. It's working as intended, comrade. This thing has plenty of pen to go straight through the viewports of a Challenger as well. So if you are driving a Challenger 1 and you see an M1A1 and he's doing 500-600 damage to you every shot and you don't know how, he's shooting your gunner sight. Your turret is not strong enough to hold up to this thing. So we're going to come up here, and we cleared that flank really easy. You can see their team is actually really evenly split. This is why you don't evenly split your team, because it doesn't give you coverage over the map. It makes the whole map weak. If they had had their entire team there fighting us, we'd still be bogged down with a couple guys flanking us. It would have been a completely different outcome. But they split up. They got good, even map coverage, so it made it an easy win for us. It's going to be T70, and there we go. 2A5 back there. Also, that little indicator on the reticle that shows up when something gets spotted outside of your view, that's one of the most useful features I've ever seen anywhere. So, kudos for Obsidian putting that in. Now this guy is going to back up, and he showed us our side, so you know, just right through the side. He goes down here, and you'll see what happens. That shot didn't penetrate, but it somehow damaged his ammo rack. I know where his ammo rack is, so we're going to shoot it again, just see what happens. And that's an ammo rack detonation. GG. Shooting ammo racks, usually it's 3 times, but sometimes you get to do it in 2 shots, but you will full HP ammo rack somebody doing that. Obviously, that was an ammo rack because 736 HP is way higher than the max roll on this thing. So we're going to go reset, and since we're a mostly full health M1A1, resetting consists of full-on, full-speed battering ram. Get wrecked right into the middle of the group of tanks on cap. So here we are, moving at a completely balanced 55 to 60. And another MBT-70. These poor guys got really screwed being put in this match. I was hoping he rammed to death, but didn't quite work out. Target destroyed. And you're going to see us, me and my platoon mate here, we're going to alternate smokes. He's going to pop his, there's his. And now once we clear his smoke screen, I'm going to pop mine so we don't get shot by that Stingray. There we go. And we just cross that whole place without getting seen by the Stingray. Probably alternating our smokes. Here we go. So VBL has no chance. And there we go. And that's pretty much it. You can just overpower things with the Abrams. You just kind of roll right in there and wreck it. And we're not actually going to get any more damage in this match. So that's pretty much how you work with the Abrams. You bully whatever you can. Don't give them a lot of time to react to you specifically, because there are weak points, such as the driver's hatch at the front of this thing. It's an overmatched weak point. So you'll take extra damage through there. Anything can pen it. If you give them time to aim, they will hit it. And it doesn't matter what it is. You will get penned there. So don't give them the random ricochet, because why not? Don't give them the time to aim at your weak points. Just bully them. Keep them on the back foot. Make them panic a little bit. React to the biggest threat. You'll notice that I turned my back completely to an MBT-70. Well, I'd rather turn my back to an MBT-70 than a Leopard 2A5. So just be aware of what's going on around you and always be moving and reacting. And the Abrams can just bully everything. So hope you enjoyed it.